Hello, today I'm going to go over 5 things that I wish I'd known before I started my current playthrough of Techtonica. Had I known these, I would have approached certain things very differently. I hope this is useful to some of you that are just getting started. Keep in mind that this game is early access and that things may change in the future, so this may not always be applicable. But if that time comes, I'll make a new video with an update. Number 1. You need a lot of room and vertical space for the research cores. Now, this is something that might change in the future, and I believe the devs have received a lot of community feedback on this subject. But for now, you're going to be creating several towers of research blocks. In order to not interfere with each other, each tower has to be built 15 tiles away from other research towers. And they also need to have a lot of vertical space on top of them. I haven't counted how many tiles it goes up, but if you told me it was 50, I'd say it's about right. In future playthroughs, I'm going to save as much of the centrally open spaces that exist in the game just for filling these towers. It's worth spending the time and the resources it's going to take to just build up the space where you're going to put the towers in the future, just so that you can plan your base around those spaces. So on to number 2, and this one's a little bit of a spoiler, so skip ahead if you want to avoid them. In any case, the freight elevator, you find it relatively early on, and they don't really tell you, the game doesn't really tell you what to do here. It implies that it's a bit of a puzzle, but there's really no puzzle here. It's just going to unlock as part of the story as you progress through unlocking the tiers on Victor. So all you have to do is just plug it into power, and that's it. And after that, it'll turn on as you progress. I spent a long time just digging out the entire base, just looking around, looking for clues, trying to figure out what I needed to do to turn it on. And it turns out I should have actually been spending that time working on Victor. If I'd done that, I would have gotten to turning on the freight elevator a lot sooner than I actually ended up doing it. Okay, it's number 3. After I explored the majority of the map, as far as I could tell, I still had a number of texts that were locked and required an object scan to unlock. Luckily, I found that there's now a fan-created map that is searchable, and using this map, I was able to find the remaining tech objects that I missed. I will leave the link to the map in the information box of the video. Anyways, so there were a couple of these things that I just somehow missed, but also there were some that were buried at the end of a cavern that you had to dig to get through. Some of these were obscured by rocks and things like that, making them easy to miss. If I hadn't had this map, I probably wouldn't have found these, or I would have had a lot harder time finding them. Number 4. When you build your first set of drill sand smelters, it pays to leave room for the fuel belts. I admit that when I was building my first setup, I thought, oh, it's going to be easy to just add belts later to just automate the fuel. But I just kept forgetting about it because I hadn't put anything in, or I hadn't left any space that was purposefully set aside for those belts. And because of that, I ended up building all over the place. So as I opened up my second base, I started to use that base in a more automated fashion from the get-go, and I just never went back to fix the first base. In fact, fixing that mess now would definitely take longer than just nuking it and starting it over. And at this point, I'm just leaving that for future playthrough. So just learn from me, build in room for fuel belts from the start, and your first base will be as efficient as possible later on in the game. Number 5. You should automate building power floors as early as possible. You're going to go through thousands of these. And while they're very easy to build yourself in your inventory, when you're building thousands, it still takes a lot of time. You are way better off automating the process early on, even if it's just with 1 or 2 assemblers. Your storage will just build up as you're exploring and doing other things, and you could just go to your storage and pick up the few thousand that you need to build your next part of your base and just get a move on. This would have saved me probably a lot more time. I did not anticipate just how many of these I was going to use or how long it was going to take to make them in my inventory. And there you have it. Those are 5 things that I wish I'd known before I started playing Techtonica. I hope that at least one of these was useful for you. See you on the next one.